I want to talk about John Brennan, who, as you all know, is the hashtag Resistance's newest hero because he went toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. He criticized him, and subsequently, Trump decided to revoke his security clearance. And everyone in the mainstream media, for about a week straight, was all crying for John Brennan because he was the victim. And look, the mainstream media, they set the national agenda. They basically determine unilaterally so what's important. And they've chosen to focus on this idiotic story, which is not important even in the slightest. It's completely inconsequential. It doesn't affect any of our lives, but yet they chose to focus on John Brennan pretty much consistently for about a week and a half, I want to say. But let's talk about John Brennan, because John Brennan is someone, for those of you who don't know, who actually played a role in George W. Bush's torture program. Great guy, right? He also defended Obama's use of drones, even after we learned that the number of civilian deaths they were causing was a lot larger than they initially had expected. And he's also widely believed to be the architect of President Obama's extrajudicial kill list. And yes, I said kill list. He had a kill list. He's the one who created this kill list for Obama. So any rational human being should view someone like John Brennan with just disgust, because he's an objectively immoral human being who is self-serving, who's only complaining about his security clearance being revoked because it helps to give him this national platform. And when you're an opportunist, you're going to take any attention that anyone is willing to give to you. And really, if you are in opposition to Donald Trump, that's a really great way to become a hero in mainstream news. But the fact remains that this is not an important story. Now, is it the case that Donald Trump likely revoked John Brennan's security clearance because he criticized him? I think it's definitely the case, but that doesn't really matter. It's not important. It's just not important. If you care about this, I don't know how you're not thinking about other issues. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean drinking water. Trump just loosened the rules of engagement in Yemen so the Saudi-led coalition can kill civilians with impunity. Why are we talking about John Brennan? But either way, the hashtag resistance made him their newest hero. And as a result, Bill Maher brought him on the program. I guess he was scheduled to be on the program for months, but nonetheless, he brought him on the program, and Bill Maher kissed his ass the entire time, and it was just disgusting to watch.
He is a distinguished scholar at Fordham and the University of Texas and was President Obama's CIA director, who, you may have heard, recently lost his security clearance, a true American patriot. John Brennan. I don't usually say it's an honor to have somebody on my show, but it is an honor to meet you and have you here. And I want people to know, we had this booking a long time ago. This isn't just because of the events of recent weeks. You were scheduled to come here, and I thank you for honoring it. And, some people on the right have accused you of wanting to monetize. That's their argument against you. You're not here to monetize anything, are you, John?
No, I am not. I didn't ask to keep my security clearances. Former directors don't do that. We keep those clearances because sometimes those in government want to be able to avail themselves of our experiences, our expertise, or knowledge about certain issues. So people serve on commissions. Sometimes they serve on private sector boards, whatever. But this is the first time in 38 years that I haven't had a security clearance. And the basis for the revocation is bogus. Mr. Trump and his administration didn't adhere even to the process that they reaffirmed last year. And the politicization of security clearances, either the granting or the revocation, is a real threat to our national security, which is why so many people came out and opposed his action. And so I certainly hope...
So many people came out for you. Admiral McRaven said, he said, please revoke my security clearance. It would be an honor, considering what you did to Brennan. Yeah, so everybody with a brain is on your side. It's interesting, Jared and Ivanka still have clearances. You, one of the guys who was the architect of getting bin Laden, does not.
Yeah. Well, it seems as though Rand Paul was the one who put this idea in Donald Trump's head. And
dead to me, Rand Paul.
Well, Rand Paul has never served on the Intelligence Committee. He knows not of which he speaks, but yet he has this impression that I'm monetizing security clearances, so he continues to spout out on these issues. But again, I believe very strongly in the principle that national security is one of the most sacred and solemn professions in this government. And every American citizen deserves to have national security professionals, intelligence professionals, who are not going to be political, not going to be politicized, and no president ever should take that capability away from them.
And that's about all that I could take before I had to stop watching. It was just insufferable. They went on after that discussion that you saw to talk about treason. They just... If you are rich, like Bill Maher, and you're an elite and an oligarch and you have power like John Brennan, you have to manufacture things to be outraged by. Because there's nothing that the government can do personally to improve your life. So you have to find your sense of purpose by being outraged by just the most dumbest benign things ever. So let's address some of the claims made here. Is it true that Trump revoked John Brennan's security clearance for political purposes? Yes, I think that's a fact. Nobody's questioning that. And sure, you shouldn't generally revoke people's security clearances for political purposes. Of course, that's arbitrary, and it's not a good thing to do, generally speaking. Is it also true that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump should not have their security clearances? Of course that's true. These are individuals that have absolutely no experience in government whatsoever and only got their jobs because Ivanka is his daughter and Jared is his son-in-law. That does not give you the expertise needed to have security clearance, so of course they shouldn't have it. But is it true that John Brennan not having security clearance poses a national security threat to the United States? Of course, that is not the case. And understand that that was never explicitly stated in this clip. Brennan specifically said that politicizing security clearances poses a threat, which that still doesn't, but the implication was that John Brennan not having security clearance is somehow bad for the United States, but in actuality, it's only bad for John Brennan. And the reason why it's bad for John Brennan in particular is because networks like MSNBC, CNN, even Fox News can no longer bring him on as a, quote, expert because he no longer is privy to insider information. And he's mad about that because, how are you going to make money if you don't have that insider information anymore? That's what this is about. This has nothing to do with national security. John Brennan not having his security clearance does not threaten U.S. national security. They say everything threatens U.S. national security. Anytime that they want something, that's the argument that they'll make. Well, look, me not having $1 million, that threatens U.S. national security, so you should probably give me $1 million. Me not having an Xbox threatens national security. I mean, that's how ridiculous this national security argument has become. They use it to, or they invoke that argument to justify anything, and it's just absurd. It's become a meme at this point. Now, I want to get to what Bill Maher said and how he talked to John Brennan, because it was just a disgusting display of neoliberal ass-kissing. So, Bill Maher referred to him as a true American patriot. Why? Why is he a true American patriot? Because he spoke out against Trump? Having a kill list doesn't make you an American patriot. That makes you someone who's against America and our values. He told John Brennan, I don't usually say it's an honor to have somebody on my show, but it is an honor to meet you and have you here. And he said, anybody or everybody with a brain is on your side. So the implication is that you have to be on John Brennan's side because John Brennan is critical of Donald Trump. And if you are not on John Brennan's side, then therefore you must be de facto on Donald Trump's side. Oh, God, the stupidity that you get from neoliberal hacks like Bill Maher, it makes my fucking head explode. Listen, I shouldn't even have to say this, but of course, not caring about John Brennan having his security clearance doesn't mean that you're automatically supporting Donald Trump. I just don't care. I think normal Americans who are struggling and living paycheck to paycheck, they don't care at all. They don't give a damn about John Brennan's security clearance. And quite frankly, I don't like either of them. I'd love to see John Brennan and Donald Trump in orange jumpsuits sharing a cell at The Hague. Because they're both war criminals. Lock them both the fuck up together. I don't care. But the fact that we all have to realize, really that mainstream media has to realize, is that this is not what working Americans care about. Your duty is to inform the American people, to educate the public, to make sure that they are knowledgeable before they cast their votes. I mean, we have a midterm election coming up. Why aren't you covering progressive candidates running? Why aren't you covering any candidates running? It's really embarrassing. And the fact that Bill Maher is participating in this shenanigans, it really shows how far he's fallen. He used to be one of the better people in mainstream media. He used to be one of the more progressive pundits. And now I think he's just such a disappointment. I wouldn't say he's one of the worst, because I think that he's just fallen perhaps more so than most, with the exception of Rachel Maddow maybe, but he's certainly a disappointment to say the least.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.